Good evening and welcome to Benjamin at Work at Plain Space Design, our third episode. Tonight we're going to continue to finish chasing the perimeter of the ellipse. In effect, we are still wanting to reach a closed form solution to that problem. Last week we covered a lot of analysis. We did not get to everything that I included in my notes, however. And here is one little item that I saved for later. I'm going to try to read what this says. This might be the transition point that I was looking for where X and Y values change faster or slower than the other. In other words, I was suggesting that I wanted to do a comparative analysis of the various parameters involved with the ellipse. For instance, and in particular, the shape of the ellipse is more or less influenced by the major circle or the minor circle at different regions of that perimeter. Therefore, I wanted to see if I could find the point where these transitions take place, where the major circle may be more influential or where the minor circle may be more influential. I was inspired to pursue this strategy by the discovery the last time of the line through the origin with the slope b over a that intercepted our ellipse perimeter. This was only a synopsis of the bigger idea of examining the various regions of the shape of the ellipse and the different influences that the parameters that made that shape had upon it. There may have been regions where the major circle had more influence upon the shape of the ellipse, and there may be regions where the minor circle has more influence. The idea was to find the transition points between these areas of influence where one parameter would hand over the major influence to the other parameter. And now we are at that brainstorm that I said was going to eventually arrive. Well, it came and began to take me into the areas of my treasure chest of mathematical tools that I have accumulated over the years. For instance, I was beginning to think of a strategy where a function of x, y, some differences, the minor circle and the major circle, could be created, these mega functions. And such large functions are reminiscent of the type of functions that you experience when you're dealing with multivariable functions and phase spaces. Then I continue to look for strategies whereby I could create functions that had logic involved in them, where there were true and false values appearing and true and false conditions being placed upon the development of the functions so that we could find strategies that were logically described. I moved on into considering the curvature of the two circles. The major circle has the curvature 1 over A, while the minor circle has the curvature 1 over B. If I could find combinations of these curvatures that would result in equations for the ellipse that could be solved in a closed form for the perimeter. And at last I asked myself a topological question. Can I relate the ellipse to the cone from which it is created? So as we know, ellipses are conic sections. That is a class of curves that are derived from planes intersecting cones. And so if each ellipse had a unique cone from which it was created, then it may be possible to create an equation for the ellipse and solve it for an equation for the perimeter of the ellipse. And that perimeter equation could have a closed form solution. So at this point, you should be able to see what was going on here, what we were doing. We were showing the strategies and routes that we could take to solve a very difficult and long-standing problem. Some of the ideas that we proposed, we developed through to a conclusion, while some of the ideas were only sketched out as concepts that we could use in the future. The strategies that we were working through and developed to conclusions, you saw some of them fail at solving the problems, while those that have not been fully developed, we can see they still have a great deal of promise and could yet still provide us with a solution to the problem. In any event, what you have seen is that this is how discovery is done, how difficult problems are solved. You saw the process, and now it is your turn to do something. We are just getting started. This is an open project, and we're doing everything in the spirit of openness and the open source tradition that is growing up in our world of technology. So take your opportunity to express yourself on this project. I know that you must have questions that you want to ask and comments that you would like to make. If you should happen to decide to follow one of the strategies that we laid out here and achieve something of note, perhaps even solve the problem, please comment here. Share what you have done with us. We would really appreciate having your input.